Today we're going to make easy work out of creating our own coal loads for our hoppers. As you can tell here, I've got a 2-bay hopper. We're going to utilize whatever kind of hopper you've got. I'm going to show you how to make an easy coal load for these hoppers. It's real simple. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your hopper and you're going to create a template. You can utilize a piece of balsa wood, thin balsa wood, or you can utilize a piece of styrene, as I've got here. I've chosen to use balsa wood. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to draw a measure, or take a little bit of a measurement on the inside of your hopper here. You're just going to take the inside, you're going to want to make sure that it fits snugly within it and that it's not difficult to remove. As you can tell, when I turn it upside down, the load does not fall out. However, I can put in a X-Acto knife and just easily pop it out. Now that you've got your template cut out, what you're going to do is take some foam, and this is going to be that high density foam that you can get at the hardware store. Down here in South Florida, what we've got is only a 1/2 inch. That's the largest I can find at a hardware store. That's the density of this. You're just going to take, and the 1/2 inch is ideal for what you're going to do for these coal loads. And you could, even if you've got the sub base for your layout, you've got the larger pink foam, you can utilize that too. You're just going to have to do a lot more sanding. Now you're going to take your template and line it up on the edges. Take your X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to make a slight abrasion first up against the edge of the template, trying to get the outline. And I'm going to do the same thing on the back side, and you can remove your template. If you notice, I've got my abrasions on the edges, and I'm going to take the X-Acto knife and I'm going to come in here and make slight passes. The harder you dig into it, the more defects that you end up with in the foam. Now, as you can tell on my foam, it's all boogered up. I got some foam pieces all over the place. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take, I utilized a piece of plywood with a piece of sandpaper that I've wrapped around to the back, and I'm just going to place this sandpaper right here on my layout, and the wood is going to hold the sandpaper in place. You're going to take your sand, or your piece of foam now, and you're just going to run it over the edge of the sandpaper, and you're just going to pretty much make that end fairly smooth. You don't have to file it down too much, just make sure that you get the excess edges that are poking out. Once you're done with your 4 sides here, I'm going to take my hopper and I'm going to test fit it, just to make sure that it is the right width and it does go within the hopper ends. Now obviously you can tell that this is a little bit too tall for this hopper. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shape this into the look of a coal loader. Now what we're going to do on the ends is we're going to take the ends, just the ends of it, and you want to put it at about a 45-degree angle off the edge of your sandpaper. And we're just going to sand it down at a bit of an angle. Now the angle that we're looking for here, when I set this in the hopper, the angle that we're looking for, if you can see on this, is the angle comes in just inside of the lip. I want to bring it down just a little bit lower than that lip. I don't want it to be just flush, I want to bring it just lower than the lip, so I'm going to sand this down just a little bit more. As you can see now, the lip, that's about as far as you want to go inside that hopper. I'm going to come by and do the second side. Now these don't have to be exact unless you're doing a more modern coal load. The more modern coal loads are straight across from, it's just got a solid peak from the top all the way the length of the car. It's got a solid peak because of the auto fillers or the auto loaders at the coal mines. For this one, it's just going to be a dump. The car rolls and they dump again. So I'm going to have more or less 2 mounds on this load. Now, we're done with the ends. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to file down the middle to make the double loads. If you're not going to have a double load, you're going to have an auto filler, you'll just start by going to the next step that I'm going to show you after I file the middle down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the edge of my sandpaper sanding block right here. I'm going to take the edge of it and I'm going to go about to the middle of my block of foam here, and I'm just going to run it back and forth and creating a divot. As you can tell, I've got this divot here, and you're just going to continue to file this midsection. Now, the depth that you want this midsection to be is going to be the same depth that you've got your edges. And we'll check that and verify it by the edges of the car. We're getting close, but we're not quite there. Alright. As you can tell, we've got that little bit of a lip in the center portion of our hopper, here and here. Now, this will be the next step for both scenarios if you're going to run a auto loader or the manual loader like I've got here with the 2 humps that I'm wanting to make in our coal load. You're going to take it, and on the edges here, you're just going to create an angle like you did on the sides, and you're going to go ahead and sand and when you put these into your hoppers, you should not see the straight portion of the edge of your foam protruding over the sides of the car. It should just be a gradual slope and disappear into the sides of the car. Now, let's go ahead and shape up this center portion, this valley that we've made in our coal load. And how you're going to do that is you're just going to do it off the edge of your sanding block. You're going to bring that side down at another angle, and you're going to file it down. Valley has now smoothed out just a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfectly smooth, just as long as it's slightly smooth. And now we're left with these ridges on all the sides of the center peaks. This is the highest part where we started off at. You're going to take just a small piece of sandpaper, and I'm going to take this small piece of sandpaper and I'm just going to slightly abrase the sides of these humps or these sharp corners and bring them down so they're a little bit more gradual. Alright, we're done with the sanding step. Now what we're at is the prepping it to add our coal. Alright, next step to add our coal, I've utilized just this little piece. It's an old Athearns box. And I've taken my coal load and I've placed it in here. You can do this outside, inside, doesn't matter. Just take some generic black spray paint. And I'm just going to hit the tops of it a couple times. pretty much eliminated all of the blue on this load, except for the bottom. After we've let our paint dry, you can use a couple different methods of gluing and adhering your coal on. For me, I've got several options. I've got the foam tack glue, you got regular white glue, or this hobby tack. I've tried both the hobby tack as well as the foam tack glue, and both have worked equally the same. At this point, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to utilize my foam tack glue. And I'm just going to apply a little bit on the peaks. There. And there. And I'm just going to take a piece of scrap balsa wood, paintbrush, anything that's got a flat surface that you're going to dispose of. And I'm just going to slide the glue, pretty much paint it across the edges of these peaks. You don't want to get it onto the sides, just on the tops. Now that I've added the glue, I'm just going to leave it here and let it sit for 15 minutes. Let it just dry just a slight bit and tack up. Alright, now that we've let the glue dry, you're going to go ahead and take your coal. What I'm using here is this Express Scale Mine Run Ballast. And it just comes in this tube. Either fine powder, it's a mix of fine powder, medium powder, and heavy grade. And as you can tell right in here, I've got the different grades right in here. I've got some very coarse stuff over here on the edge, a little bit less coarse, and real fine coal dust right in here. I'm going to go ahead and utilize all this mixed together. Some mines go ahead and separate the coal into fine, medium, and coarse grade coal in their loads, and each bay is set as a different standard. For my coal mine, I'm just going to do it as a mix. Now, once you've got all your coal in a dish that would be large enough to accommodate the coal load that you've made, I'm just going to go ahead and turn this thing upside down, and I'm just going to push real hard one time. Try not to push in the middle because you'll break your foam in half. Once I've got it pushed there, I'm going to go ahead and close the lid. And I'm going to go ahead and just shake it around. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to adhere all of the different kinds of coal dust to the glue. Alright, after I've tossed it around in the coal, pull it out. And that'll be how your coal load is going to look. If you don't like how some of the coal's positioned, you can always add either coarser or finer grades on top of it. I would use a little dab of glue. Just put a little dab of glue wherever you're missing coal, wherever you'd like to see more coal, and then just go ahead and sprinkle some on, let it dry, and it'll be good. At this point, go ahead and set our coal off to the side. Place our coal load into the hopper. We've got a pretty nice fit. And from the side, that is what our coal load is going to look like. Now, I can turn it over and dump it out. It doesn't add any weight to the car because it is made out of foam. If you would like to add weight to the car, you could always go ahead and glue some weights on the bottom of the car. Just be mindful though, on my hopper here with my B&O hopper, I've got shallow edges and the hopper does not allow the coal load to fall any lower. On my Norfolk and Western hopper, the edges are a slight bit deeper. So my coal load here would fit further down than normal. I've also got an issue where I run into where on the B&O, the inside supports do not get affected by the bottom of the coal load. However, on my Norfolk and Western one, I do have that problem. They don't fit in there evenly. It adjusts from side to side and doesn't fit down snug. For that, what I've done is I've created a groove in the bottom, and if you notice, I glued some weights on the bottom here. And this coal load fits right in nice and snug. Well guys, I hope you guys learned some helpful tips on how to creatively make some coal loads easily out of the extruded foam for your layouts that you've already utilized. If you got any questions, comments, put them in the comments section. I'll try and help any questions that you've got, any problems you've faced.